Ever wonder how small acts of advocacy can grow into transformative leadership? Welcome to Smart Driven Women. I'm Rona Jobe. Here, impactful leaders and entrepreneurs come to share how they navigate their complex careers and personal lives. Our guest today is Juslyn Manalo. She is the first Filipino woman elected to the Daly City Council and a 3-time mayor of Daly City, California. She received her master's in public administration and bachelor's from San Francisco State University. She started her advocacy journey supporting Filipino World War II veterans fighting for justice and rightful benefits. She's also served as community engagement manager in both the private and public sectors, including some roles in the economic and workforce development programs in San Francisco. Juslyn represents Daly City on several regional boards, including the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency and the Asian Pacific Islander Caucus of the League of California Cities. And fun fact, Juslyn and I went to the same middle school in Daly City. Not the same year, but we graduated from the same school. Welcome, Juslyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
So excited to kick off this season with so many different Bay Area women, and thank you for leading it.
Thank you. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
I'm going to start off with some rapid fire questions for our listeners just to get to know you a little bit better. So I'm just going to spit them out and spit them right back out. It's supposed to be extremely fast. Just your reactions to these questions. You ready?
Ready.
All right. What city do you live in and who's in your household?
Daly City, my husband, daughter, son, and our cat, Edie.
Nice. Coffee or tea in the morning?
Tea.
What's the last book you finished?
Last book I finished? Oh my goodness. I can't remember right now. Literally.
One word to describe your leadership style.
My leadership style is actually purpose-driven.
Purpose-driven. Love it. Favorite app on your phone?
My favorite app on my phone would be, it's this app recently that helps me figure out how much sleep I need.
Oh, nice. Podcasts or audiobooks?
Podcasts.
Who's a professional role model for you?
A professional role model for me would be Attorney General Rob Bonta.
One cause you're passionate about?
There are so many issues I care about, and it's supposed to be rapid fire.
First one that comes to the top of your mind.
Social equity. I'll encompass everything.
All right. Social equity. Awesome. Mountains or beach for vacation?
Beach.
Best career advice you've received?
One of the best career advice I received was, you know what? You'll never expect someone that might be the person you think that'll help you won't help you, but then the person that you think might not be the person to help you actually will be the one to help you.
Expect the unexpected almost. Mm-hmm. What exciting things are happening in Daly City right now?
We just opened up Jakalchi, which is a Korean market that also has a Michelin star restaurant, an oyster bar, also fresh sushi, a bakery that's gluten-free. It's really one of its kind. And it has opened up in our Monte Mall in Daly City.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it's really exciting. Got to check it out. But it is the first of its kind in the nation.
Wow. Ceremony is holding strong, huh?
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, I like to get started with the first few minutes of our podcast, just kind of getting to know you a little bit better and understanding your personal story, where you come from. And I typically ask this with just about everybody. Before you started your professional career journey, did you consider yourself driven? If not, when did it start?
Well, before my professional career journey, I think if I look back through whether it's high school, college, I've always been really involved with organizations, whether it was through, clubs at schools or at San Francisco State University. I ran for the Student Center Governing Board. And so I always felt drawn to the collective and being able to work with others. And so when I think about when you say the word driven, I've always wanted to pursue something at the next level, but it was always towards the greater good. I'll share one story, and it's going to take me back, I think, in my childhood experience. So my best friend told me this, don't you remember? And we were in elementary school. She goes, don't you remember when we were in 5th grade? And she said, and you asked the principal when you wrote a letter to them asking to build a mural outside of our window. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. So I literally wrote a letter to the principal, said, the students in the classroom look outside and it's gray walls. Can you give us the opportunity to put murals up? And that was in 5th grade. And so she remembers me writing that letter back then. I always thought my advocacy work started when I learned about the Filipino World War II veterans, right? But it actually started when I was in 5th grade. I'm like looking out the window. I'm like, this is not really pleasant to look at outside. And so we did get approved. Then we did a collective mural with our classmates, and we were able to put it outside that gray wall. And so I forgot about that, but my best friend and never forgot about it.
It almost sounds like there was that inherent drive within you where you're like, all these kids, all my friends are having this negative experience or this blah experience right outside our window. What can we do about it? And you were the one that was like, can we do something about this?
Yeah. And so there has been, and we're talking about that drive, the drive for the greater good and to serve others and to help make things better was always there. And I didn't realize that until my best friend reminded, right? And I mean, the larger issue that really ignited me to fight on a national level was the Filipino World War II veteran. When I learned that these lolos and lolas, and that's grandma, grandpa, and Filipino, that they fought in World War II, and then Congress stripped them of their benefits, I was appalled. And, that was a moment to really fight for them and fight alongside them. And that was really the first moments of understanding what advocacy on that level looked like, going into the halls of Congress, knocking at senator and congressmen and women's doors to highlight their story and to push for what they deserve.
When you were deciding, or when you were sort of going through this in 5th grade and even, after the Filipino veterans issues, did you tell your parents about them? Did they have a reaction on like you as a 5th grader going, oh, well, Jess is going to write the principal a letter so they can get a mural? Like, did they react at all, or were there lessons from them that you may have had in the back of your mind? Or was this just like, yep, I'm just going to go for it?
I think I didn't even have a conversation with my parents. I come from immigrant parents and families who were always kind of working simultaneously. And I don't think I even shared with them I did that. So it was...
They're going to find out on this podcast.
Around like, wait, who do I write to? Who's the decision maker, right? Oh, the principal. I mean, my parents have been always an inspiration as far as teaching me the values of, working hard, always understanding others and how to, just the basics of be kind. That's where I've learned those values from them growing up. In the Filipino culture, there's something called kapwa.
Yeah.
Which is you are me and I am you. And with that, I saw that through my parents when I was growing up, that whether it was a neighbor or a friend, if they needed help, whether it's a simple task or whatnot, my dad would head over and help them out. Or if it was my mom's cooking, who she loves to cook, it was her language of love, feeding others.
Besides the Kapwa experience that you saw your parents live out, were there specific aspects of their journeys or maybe your grandparents' journeys that have influenced your sense of purpose?
Yeah, I remember thinking back, my mom was only 24 years old when she moved to here, San Francisco Bay Area from the Philippines. And to me, she had no family, absolutely no family here. And that was a huge change for her. But she took that leap to build a better life for herself and her future family. And that to me was courageous. It's pretty ironic, though. I wanted to go to school in the East Coast in New York. And she says, no, that's too far. Stay close. And I told her, I said, but Mom, you moved all the way to another country at the age of 24. And you're like, no, stay close to home. Don't go across to the East Coast. I mean, but I'm close to her. I stayed local, even though I did want to go to school in New York.
Yeah.
But looking back to that moment, I'm supposed to be here for a reason and a purpose. I don't know if I'd ever come back to the Bay if I had moved out to the East Coast.
Yeah.
I was able to build here, stay close to them, and maybe I wouldn't have been able to run in specifically Daly City, right?
And how awesome is it to represent your hometown? Right?
It's one of the greatest jobs I've been able to do, honestly, to be able to serve the community I was raised in and to make an impact in local policy. It's been such a tremendous experience, and I'm so grateful. Yeah. I am grateful to the community who has continually seen my leadership and supported me. And I'm grateful to God for the opportunity to really give back. If you were to ask me, is this something you thought you would have done when you were a young girl? No, I never said, I want to be mayor one day. I want to be an elected official. It was something that wasn't inherent. It wasn't taught. You didn't see yourself. I did remember saying to myself when I was probably in high school and looked at the city council in Daly City and said, how come there's no Filipino woman? But it was a thought that went in my head and kind of just passed, right? It was just like a quick thought, and didn't realize we were going to break that barrier.
Yeah. I love that. Are there specific, I know we've sort of touched on this a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about your personal values that have remained constant throughout your journey from student to advocate to mayor to mom to community member?
Yeah. I think if I were to look back in my journey of life, one of the key elements that have been a foundation for me is really around its community, also faith. I also think that that's been a grounding force for me, and it has been a thread along the way. I think it's just this passion of mine ever since to serve others, and it has just continued on. I remember in 7th grade at our old middle school, Ben Franklin, they said, who wants to be kind of like the lunchtime ambassador, And I remember going around talking to folks that may have not been so extroverted and just like checking in on them, trying to get them engaged. It just continued. I think I really enjoy being around others and also being able to see how we can work together.
I have one question for you that I'd really be interested to know, because this has been a topic sometimes that I know a lot of women, especially lately, have been coming to me about and talking about. And it's about these internal barriers before they feel ready to lead. A lot of our listeners are aspiring leaders, and they continue to talk to me about, that imposter syndrome, the internal barriers before they feel like they're ready to lead. Did you ever experience sort of any self-doubt running for office? How did you work through it? What do you say to the next generation that are also having these internal self-doubt that want to go for a leadership position, but they're like, I don't know if I'm, ready for it or if I'm right for it?
Well, one thing I'll say is a phrase that you probably heard already is you are enough. So take that leap, because I think what happens is at times when we're on that cliff to go take that leap, we are afraid we're going to fall. But you know what, baby girl or, fellow sister, you're going to soar. you're going to fly. And it takes that courageous leap to see that, it's really that step, like you're going to make it, you're going to do it. There's that critical juncture where you feel it in your body when you're about to make that big decision where you're going to go for it. And right in that moment, that's why I say, know that you're enough. You are. Yeah. You are enough. I'm able to speak to or be keynote for graduations. And I love being able to speak to the next generation. They are the leaders of our future, if not now. And don't be afraid to put your dreams in the universe. Like, dream and say it out loud. I remember literally when I did. It was San Francisco State University. I was a keynote for my master's. And that's when I said I wanted to use my master's of public administration in local municipal government. And I put it out there. That was May of 2014. And I got elected in November of 2016.
2 years later.
2 years later.
I love it.
Totally believe that when you put it out there, when your heart, spirit, and mind are aligned, and that's the path you're going to be on, doors opened up. That was a lot of work. I'm not saying but it literally, your mind is powerful.
Yeah. I've been reading a lot lately about the science behind affirmations because as a mom, and I share these affirmations with my kids, and they're not always so positive about it. They're like, I just keep saying that because you're my mom. And so I've been reading a lot into the science behind it about how when you first say an affirmation or you first put out what you want in the world, your brain sort of tells you, that's not possible, right? It doesn't believe it. But like you say it enough times that your brain starts to absolutely believe it and starts to do things even subconsciously to work towards that goal. And when you're working towards that goal, which I believe you have been, you are, the reality sometimes starts to set in and your plate becomes full. So I'm curious, how are you working and integrating your responsibilities and your schedule with also being a parent? You have 2 children, a cat, full household, full calendar. What does your day-to-day look like, and how are you sort of prioritizing or organizing these different aspects of your life, leadership, community, parenting, all of the above?
I am so grateful for a wonderful support system because I can't definitely not do this on my own. But I think what my mindset has always been is because I was maybe a little smaller in stature when I was younger and literally like, oh, you're the smallest kid picked on the team for whatever sport, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm just smaller in nature, is that there was always something like a challenge, And so when the challenge came forth, I think it taught us in sports. Mm-hmm. I was in cross country that you literally just persevere, you just keep pushing with juggling everything from a full-time job to council work, family, children, all of the extra boards or passions I'm on. I'm currently the chair for the Filipino American Democratic Caucus of California. All of these pieces, there's a support system. Parents are there. My partner is there. My husband, he's there to help when I'm out in community. That's really, I think, where the balance comes in.
I'm grateful that you have that support. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing. And we wouldn't be having this conversation right now and talking about the hundreds and thousands of people and millions of people that you've already helped. So grateful for that.
I am grateful. I really am. And also there's policies now in California that support women or people that have children to be able to use their campaign funds for childcare. When you talk about having an opportunity so that what are the barriers, right? If you don't have childcare and you have to be at a forum, right? And so I think that there's really been some forward thinking in California around setting a more equal playing field for families or mothers or fathers that may need that type of support and not let it be a hindrance.
For young women right now, considering running for local office, maybe in the Bay Area or elsewhere, especially those that haven't come from a traditional political background or even one that have grown up in the advocacy world, what advice would you give them on how to start?
First of all, I love that there are young women or women that would not necessarily run for office are thinking of running for office. That is how we're going to have more representation in the spaces that we need, whether local, state, federal, right? We need representation at every level. What I would say is get involved and understand the role that you want to move into. Number one, understand it and understand what that role is and reach out to someone who's already in that role. And if there's another woman on there, reach out to that woman. If it's a man who's in that role, reach out to that man.
Great advice.
I remember reaching out to my mentor, who happens to be a man on city council, and asked him, is it possible to grab coffee? And he said, yeah. And that conversation was extremely helpful. He was very transparent and direct. And I remember meeting and saying, hey, Iowa would love to one day run for city council. He said, well, that's great. That's great. You want to run? He was like, kind of asked what I did. Mm-hmm. If I had a family, etc., or whatnot. It takes a lot of time, very honest and real. And then he said a couple things. He said, you're going to be making tough decisions. And some of them are going to be decisions where people are unhappy. And he said, are you willing to be unliked? He was very straightforward. Like, some people will not like you. With just a decision you have to make, because you have to make a decision, and some will be for it and some will be against. To me, I was grateful for that really transparent conversation, right? But I'm not saying don't be dismayed by the roles we're in. I'm just saying he was very transparent in the role, right? But for those that want to run and go for it, do it. We need the representation. It's not going to be always easy, but you know what? Life's not always easy. So it's a part of the journey. And just remember to always just keep pushing, stay positive, surround yourself with people that believe and are positive, and really have that opportunity to ask those questions. And, there's so many amazing organizations now around running for office. I actually want to say thank you to APALF, the Asian Pacific American Leadership Foundation.
Yeah.
Because I did a 2-part boot camp that taught me so much around running for office. And then also later joined Emerge California and joined their boot camp. So these are resources that are out there. It's already created so that women have opportunities, or the Asian American community have opportunities to understand what it takes, what you need, and the tools and resources that are out there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Juslyn. I love what you said. Keep pushing, stay positive, find support, and keep going. Put it out there in the universe.
Yes. So. Don't be afraid to put it out in the universe. And really follow your passion. Follow your passion. I think in general, when you find something you love and you're passionate about it, so natural that you're going to open many doors, right? Energetically, because you're doing what you love.
Love that. I love that. Juslyn, thank you again for joining us on Smart Driven Women. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation and just learning all about these resources as well, and listening to your journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I want to share with you as I want to follow what I share with others, that I am putting out in the universe that, I will be running, and I am running for Board of Supervisors in San Mateo County District 5. There is an opportunity to serve at that level, and I want to continue to fight for affordable housing, ensure that our youth and our families have the resources to thrive in the community. And so that's something I'm putting out in the universe with you and everyone that's listening, because I know that there's so much more work to do.
There is. And for everyone listening, you can find Juslyn on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We'll put her links in the description of this podcast. Thank you again.
Thank you.